Hey Dad, okay. I wanted to film this little house that they're building, literally just right down from where Pimmy's house is. And this is a very small, I mean, you can kind of just get the overall picture here. Very small, but it would give you an idea. I just kind of wanted to show you how they do some of this construction, just so you can kind of see it firsthand. But with that said, this is very common. This size, maybe 2-3 rooms, very common in these little out in the province, in the villages where the majority of the houses are really small. This one here is actually, they're kind of doing a refurbish. Pretty old house, obviously quite a bit bigger, but they've done actually a pretty nice little refurbished job there. To the right, all that's completely new, putting a little outside fence there. So when they get all this cleaned up and repainted, they're going to repaint that top part. That won't look too bad, but you can kind of see the end of this street that we're on. At the end of the street is a very big temple. And honestly, even though we're out in the middle of nowhere, that's one of the nicer and cool temples that I've seen. There is a lot of really cool stuff in there, but I'll do some video in there at a later time and kind of show you that. But just kind of wanted to show you this. I'll walk in here and scan this out. I'll walk in here and just kind of show you. And like I was telling you before, everything is concrete. I mean, everything cement and concrete. Obviously the roof, the rafters is all metal. All that's is aluminum. And it's kind of crazy because aluminum, and I don't know if they're getting it, the majority of it from China. I would assume probably so, maybe some from the US, I don't know. But aluminum here is actually very cheap. It's very cost effective, which is why many people just use the aluminum. Now on this, again, this is a very cheap build. This is, to some degree, this is not a good example to show you, especially the higher end construction, but the principles are still the same. But they're not using really any reflective. They've got roofing material that has a reflective backing on the back, which really repels a lot of the heat. I'm not, of course, obviously it's more expensive, but not really seeing that on this one. But they'll come back in when this is done, and they will actually put like a floating ceiling in here, like a drop down ceiling. And I have seen it where they actually use board material. It's not like a drop down ceiling, kind of like how we use, and you come in with those styrofoam pieces and just kind of lay it in a grid. They actually will put some aluminum pieces across there and then actually skin that with like a board material. So I'm not really sure what they have planned for here, but it will not go all the way up like that. You'll have a drop down ceiling that will match the heights of the walls. That's another thing too that I've noticed. 8-foot walls, which obviously are pretty much standard for the US. That is not the case here. You get 9, 10-foot walls here. They like the taller ceilings. So, but you can kind of see, I'll show you here, like in the corner here, you can see this concrete beam, and they'll use those kind of like the rebar sticking out. They'll use that rebar to actually lay those like the aluminum across. They'll actually connect that to tie it into the roof. But that's how that starts. Like the building will start almost like kind of like when you're building a pole barn. The only thing you'll see standing is these concrete pillars. You can see the other one here in the corner. So you'll have these spaced apart, I don't know, 8 feet. And when the building is just starting, that's all that's standing up. Now they form those. I see the rebar in there. They actually put kind of a wire mesh in there as well. So I mean, they're very strong. And then they tie everything off of that. So they'll come back in, as you can see right here. They'll come back in and they'll start stacking these blocks. So, of course, obviously they made a window here, but they just stack those blocks up. And you can see they're very thin. Now on this, again, you know, a cheap build like this, and Pimmy's house is exactly the same way. You get no insulation properties on this at all. In fact, it retains heat. These walls get freaking hot to the touch when the sun is really bearing down. So, you know, it really makes it hard to cool the places. Now, this one won't be such a big deal because it's so small, but it makes it a little bit of a harder job to keep it cool, obviously. So the higher end, they have these same kind of blocks, but they are a little bit thicker. But they will put, they'll put one row like this, and then they'll actually come in and leave a little bit of a space, and they will actually do another wall, so basically a double wall, and then they'll come back in between that and put like styrofoam, you know, some kind of insulation material, so you get a double stacked wall. That's what you see on the higher end homes. And there's a home that's pretty close to Pimmy's farm. I'll shoot some video there to show you like what some of the higher end homes can look like. Even out here in the middle of the province, we have some high dollar homes out here. Of course, they're almost all foreigners that build those high end homes. But again, you can kind of see how it looks, how they do the walls. And when they get done, they do come back in. They fill those cracks in with, you know, with some masonry, with some cement. And they do not care what it looks like. As you can see right here, it just kind of runs down. They are not concerned in the least as to the kind of finish, and the outside looks the same, because when they get done, the final process is they will come in, they'll kind of knock that down, kind of clean that off, kind of grind it down a little bit, knock that off, and then they'll actually come in with a it's like a stucco, but it is not stucco, but it's like a very thin, very wet, kind of a cement rendering, if you will. So they'll come back in and they'll put that over that whole wall and make that whole thing nice and smooth, and they take that down to a very smooth finish. And when it's done, they'll come back in almost kind of like a buffer. It's not really like a grinder, it's almost like a buffer, but a little bit abrasive. But they'll come back in with that buffer, and they'll go over that whole thing, and I mean, they really knock it down to a very smooth level. They can even kind of texture it a little bit. I've seen that where the wheel, if you will, that's kind of buffering it down, will just the material it's made of will kind of give that final the final gosh, what am I trying to say? Just, I guess, the way it looks like right at the very end will have like a textured look to it. So when you come back in and you paint that, well, you know, with whatever paint, whatever color you're going to go with, it'll actually have like a textured look to it, a little bit like similar to what we have on the sheetrock where we do the knockdown. Not to that extreme, but they do have a textured look on it. And you can get, you know, in the higher end homes, especially if you're paying more money and you have a little bit higher class of builders, you can do some different things with that as well. And I've been in some of those homes where they've done some different stuff, more alike what we have in the U.S., more like kind of, you know, to the Western standards. So you can still get what you want here. You just have to be willing to pay. But again, you can just kind of see, like right here, you can see this really, it's kind of rough. Just basically just kind of splattering it with the concrete. You can kind of see right here where they come in, they just want to make sure all those crevices are filled, but they don't care what it looks like at this point, because, you know, they know they're going to come in, knock that down, and then refinish. So kind of the same thing here. Like they make this little door opening, you can kind of see where, you know, it looks like it's just kind of whomper jawed, which it kind of is. What they're going to do is they'll come back in, they'll put steel framing where they're going to hang a door. They'll put a steel framing on this, so they'll just come back in, they'll fill that little piece in, and then of course once you do the rendering, you're not even going to see that final. I mean, you won't even notice that blemish there. Same thing on the floor. You can kind of see they don't do a really smooth finish on the floor like what we do, and that is because they do not really use you know, concrete is like the final finish. No one does that. I would assume you could probably make that happen if you wanted a very smooth concrete floor, I'm sure you could pay to have that done. But for the most part, it's just rough, and they like it like this. They want it kind of roughed up a little bit like this because they are going to be laying tile on that. 99.9% of all homes and buildings in Thailand, the flooring is going to be tile. And a lot of it is very light colored, maybe even white or, a cream or off-white color, which to me is like just doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's the thing. That's just what they do in Thailand. But with that said, I have been in some of the home centers where you can find some really nice looking tile that's a little bit more akin to what we're used to in the States. Now it's big. Most of them are like 18 by 18. I've even seen some 24 by 24 squares on the tile. So some of it is very, very big. But again, like I said, you can get some really nice pieces. Now, what I was telling you on the electric, I haven't seen. I don't think they've got to that point here on this, but everything comes from up top. So they'll have like a junction box, may have multiple junction boxes up in the ceiling, and everything is, one off. So for example, you got a light switch here. They're going to run the wiring from up top down to that one switch. Most of it will be like a combo. So if that's a light switch, it will also be like a plug-in. So you'll have a light switch on one side and one receptacle on the other. They don't have a ton like what we're used to in the States, where you have 3 or 4 outlets on one stretch of wall. You may have one outlet in the whole room. They don't really think about those kinds of things, especially in these kind of homes that are very small, because they just don't run a lot of electricity. They're not running a lot of, maybe you have one TV. They don't have 3 or 4 lamps and stuff like that. So it's just not that big of a deal like it is back in the States. But again, maybe you have a light up here. So you'll have that coming to the light, and then maybe you have one, you have the light switch there, and maybe you have one plug in. I have seen where they'll run it. They'll channel something, just like right down the middle of the wall. They don't try to make it pretty, but maybe they'll run just a channeling down the wall, and they'll run wiring on the outside of the wall. I've seen that, especially if you're doing something, retrofitting something where the house is already done and you want to add some stuff. That might be your only option. Now, they may try to run it over to the corner and then channel it down in the corner so it's not out in the open. So they'll try to do things like that to make it a little bit better. But for the most part, once it's kind of locked in and you're wanting to add some plug-ins or light switches or something like that, you're probably looking at doing something kind of externally off the wall. So, but I don't really know. Again, this is a very, very small house, 3 or 4 rooms. Like this right here, looks to me like they would actually use that as a bedroom. Normally the kitchen, I don't know exactly on the layout on this one. Normally the kitchen is at the very back. Almost all Thai houses, especially, small cheap houses like this, the kitchen is always in the back. So also too, and this actually may be, I may have told you wrong. This actually may be, they're going to use this for the bathroom, because I was just about to tell you that all the bathrooms in these houses, they'll have a drop. It's a drop floor. So you can kind of see how that drops down about 3 inches or so. All bathrooms in these, even in the higher end, I guess you could probably say, I don't want that, and keep them from doing it. But they drop them down like that because in the corner of this room, they'll actually slant this floor just a little bit too. And in the corner is normally like a really big drain, a lot bigger than what we are accustomed to in the States. And it may be in addition to the drain you would have like underneath the shower head. It may have its own drain too, but you're going to have another really big drain kind of in the corner for any, water. A lot of these, and this bathroom is probably the same way. This is probably going to be a wet bath. That's how Pimmy's house is. So you'll have the toilet in there, the shower, but it's all just an open thing. So, maybe the toilet gets a little bit wet, whatever, when you're actually taking a shower. But this is probably going to be a wet bath just because, again, cost. But they normally put these underneath, so I guess, they're thinking about you have any kind of water leak or toilet overflows, or again, even just squirting the water around. All these toilets have what we call like a bum gun, which is basically just like a spray nozzle to kind of clean your backside when you're done. But they also use those to kind of, you know, hose down the floor and stuff like that when they're cleaning. So all that water just runs to the corner and then drains out, but it doesn't get, it stays retained since you have about a 3-inch drop there. So, but yeah, that's definitely the bathroom there. Looks like they put in just a couple little frosted glass pieces there to add a little light. So this right here obviously would be the entrance. So I guess this would be kind of what we would call the living room. And then this might just be the bedroom here. And then, you know, I don't know if this will be maybe even another room. Looks like that's another little storage. And I don't know if they're going to try to put, I was going to say maybe they're going to try to put 2 bathrooms in there, but it doesn't have a drop floor. So I don't really know what that's going to be like. Because again, in the States, if we looked at something like this, we'd say, oh, maybe that's like a closet, you know, but they don't have closets in Thailand, especially in these little small builds. That just doesn't even exist. Mainly because most Thai people, especially poorer people, you don't have a ton of clothes like we have. You know, you may only have 2 or 3 shirts and a pair of pants and maybe a pair of shorts, a couple pair of shorts, something like that, and 1 pair of flip-flops. I mean, you just don't have very many clothes, and you wash them. In Thailand, they're very clean in Thailand, which you probably already know. So, you know, doing laundry every day or every other day is just a way of life. So they keep their clothes clean, so they don't need a ton of clothes. But with that said, they don't have a closet, a space out of the house just for a closet. So I'm not really sure what that little room right there might be for. Who knows? And again, like I said, even though this room here is very small, that might be another bedroom. You know, especially if they have a child or something. So who knows? But you can see, I mean, this is a 1, counting the bathroom, 2, 3, 4 room house. I wouldn't even know to guess the square footage. Maybe 300, 400 square feet. I wouldn't even know to guess. Maybe 400 square feet. Wouldn't even really know to guess. But and then you got a little front porch here off the front of the house. Just have a little place to come out of the house. But yeah, I just wanted to show you. I talked probably more than I showed you on video, but I really just kind of wanted to show you how they do this construction. But again, I'll shoot some other clips. I'll shoot some other video of some of the higher end homes. I don't know any that's like at this stage. Most of them are already done. But I've been in a couple, and we're going to be in one of those homes. It is it's actually a gay couple, but it is a Thai man who is with a man from Czechoslovakia. But they built a house here in Pubun Rock, and it is very, very nice. And they did it, a lot of it to like Western standards. They didn't really want it to look like a Thai house. But I'll try to shoot some video of that just to kind of show you what some of these high-end homes can look like. But I'll definitely shoot some video of that house that is next to Pimmy's farm. I really want to show you Pimmy's farm because it's really beautiful out there. But I'll shoot some video out there and just so you can see it. But there's some money. There is some money here, mainly because there are foreigners here that, you know, are married or dating, you know, have a Thai girlfriend, and you know, this is where they live either year-round or 6 months, 8 months out of the year. So they'll build a house here. And of course, I'll throw some numbers out there. You know, you can build if you're around the 1 million would be a pretty nice home, but around 2 million, 3 million baht home, and you're going to have a very, very nice, I'm talking very, like a perimeter fence, some high-end stuff in your house. And I mean, if you're going as high as $3 million, 3 million, you know, 3 million baht, you're looking at right around $95,000 to $100,000 US. So again, yeah, I mean, no small piece of change, but again, what you can get for that, especially in a place like here, Pibun Rock, it's pretty crazy. So, and then of course, obviously, there's some guys, they got some money to burn, and they build some pretty nice houses out here. So, but again, I'll show you that. I'll show you that at a later time. But anyway, Dad, I just wanted to kind of show you kind of what some of these houses look like, kind of the construction theories or principles, if you will, kind of how they do it. Oh, so I'll walk back out here. Again, this is the street. In fact, I'll just show you. I'll show you how close this is. So we're just walking down the street, and I'll show you Pimmy's house. So I'll show you just how close we are to this construction. And this house over here is a nice house. He keeps it up too. Keeps it taken care of. But this is Pimmy's house. This is the one she built. So you can kind of see, obviously bigger than the one we just looked at. And she did this in stages. She didn't do all of this at the same time. The original house was, you can kind of see the white part that was not there. So that was what you see there at the front, and that's the entrance. It kind of had a little bit of an L there, and then just went straight across. So where that white starts, that was the whole front of the house. And then she had this part was covered for parking. And then here at the back, which in her case is the kitchen, this whole part, it was covered, had a covered roof, but that was all completely open. And that's where her kitchen was. And that is very, very, very common in Thailand, even in some, not really nice homes for Thai people, but that's very common just to have the kitchen area just wide open. In fact, not everyone runs the aircon all the time, so they want to keep that heat away from the rest of the house. So that's why a lot of them just do it outside, because it's hot enough as it is. They don't want to fire up the stuff. But she's got this. She come back in later and enclosed that part. But again, and of course, obviously, it was cost effective. She left the back part. She left the back part just, you can see the slats. So that's still kind of open. Cannot cool that. And you'll still get some bugs and stuff in there. Although honestly, it's not bad. And then she actually had these blinds, kind of like these shade things installed. You can lower those, which helps a little bit when the sun's coming up. But we never really use them. But can use that. But you can just see the size of her house compared to the size of that other. And she told me this house cost her right around $15,000 US. And of course we hear that amount and we kind of snicker, we're like, okay, $15,000, but that is a large sum of money to a Thai person, especially like her, a single mom who, she's trying to pay bills and do all that other stuff on the side, take care of two girls, raise two girls, but come up with $15,000 to pay for this house. So she actually had about half of that and financed the other half and got that. It's already paid off. So it was paid off in about 3 years. So again, like to us in the U.S., that kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But when you know how really big of a thing that is in Thailand, that's just a very impressive story on how she was able to do that. It really is. It's a testament to her and her, just how strong of a person she is, and she's a go-getter. So when she had her business running it in her house at first, but then once she had a little extra money, she had them come back in and basically just enclose this one side of the covered kind of parking area. And that's probably about maybe a 15 by 15, maybe a 15 by 12. I don't know. It's a fairly small room, but anyway, that's where she did her shop. So she put her sign out, and all of her stuff is in there. And that's where she does. That's where her customers will come, and she's got her, there's her sign right there, but I don't know that she really needs that now because everyone knows she's here. But so anyway, that's where her customers come, and that's where she works, and that's how she makes her money. But again, that's just a picture of her house. So again, you know, quite a bit of difference. If this house costs, you know, $15,000 to build, you can imagine what that other one that I just showed you cost. Maybe maybe $5,000. I don't know. Not a lot of money. Maybe even cheaper than that, depending on who you got to build it. So, but she wants a fence. You know, you can kind of see this here behind me, how this guy, he has his privacy fence. This is very common in Thailand. Many people put, and all over Thailand. I see this in Bangkok. And of course, these fences can get very elaborate, solid concrete fences all the way around, or they have a huge ornamental gate. I mean, you can get crazy on these things, but many people like these, you know, kind of perimeter fences around your property. And she wants to do that here as well, around hers. But you know, it's just, she just can't justify the cost right now to do it. So she really wants to build a house someday out on her farm, and when I video out there and show you that place, you'll kind of see why. It's just a beautiful place. But well, all right, Dad, I've gone about 25 minutes here, 26 minutes, so I'm just rambling on. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of kind of what these construction processes are, or at least kind of give you an idea. I mean, it's, again, the higher end homes are going to be a little bit different, and I'll show you some of those. But again, it just kind of gives you an idea how things are built around here. So, okay, Dad, I'll talk to you soon.